What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. This here is Legitical Response. We cover political news. We keep you up to date and keep you informed with everything that the government does. Now, we covered the shadow campaign a while back. We know what the Democrats did in 2020 to beat the Republicans, to beat Donald Trump. We know they played some underhanded, dirty games. These were back alley tactics. They essentially cheated to win that election. They had a cabal of people. It was a conspiracy, in their words, working behind the scenes to change the rules, change the laws, and use Democrat activists to go around to Democrat residences to get Democrats to vote by mail. And their ground game was absolutely immaculate. They couldn't have asked for a better turnout. By God, Donald Trump got more votes than any other incumbent president in U.S. history. He won more bellwether counties than any other Republican president in U.S. history, any other incumbent. He had some historic numbers in the 2020 election and still lost, for God's sakes. That is because of the ground game of the Democrats, changing the rules, changing the laws, and getting all these activists to get out there and force people to vote. Yeah, that's right, force people to vote. They actually went door to door on a daily basis. If you didn't fill out your ballot, if you didn't tell these people that, yes, I filled out my ballot and mailed it off, then they would bother you. They would harass you every single day until you did. That is wrong. You cannot do that. I've said before, it's analogous to having a baseball game, right? You got Republicans versus Democrats. Right before the game starts, the Republican coach goes to the MLB officials and say, hey, how about you change the rules around stealing bases? So they went ahead and changed the rules around stealing bases right before the game started and didn't notify the Republicans that the rules were changed around stealing bases. So come game time, Democrats start stealing bases illegally, right? And the Republicans are over here like, hey, what are you doing? They're stealing bases illegally. That's fraud. And the Democrats and the was like, nope. Flip through the rule book. Nope. No, everything's fine. They didn't do anything. There's no fraud here. Right? It's all a bunch of BS, if you ask me. You can't do that. That's just underhanded. It's dirty tactics to hold on to power. It's very undemocratic. It's anti-democratic, as a matter of fact, because you're taking the vote from the people away, right? Thinking, oh, well, no, they got voters to vote. Yeah, people that normally would not have voted, you harassed them, you coerced these people into voting, and the Biden administration is doing this once again. We've postulated before. What is the shadow campaign for 2024? Well, there's a lot of speculation around that. Check this out. GOP targets a Biden executive order on voter registration ahead of the fall election. That's right. The Biden administration, the federal government, has put on a campaign to get voters registered. Yeah, you can't do that, as a matter of fact. Check this out. Republicans and conservative activists have increasingly been targeting an executive order issued 3 years ago by the Biden administration that is intended to boost voter registration, claiming it's unconstitutional in an attempt to interfere in the November election. As a matter of fact, come to find out, it is unconstitutional. The federal government is barred from interfering in voter registration. They cannot get out the vote, right? They can't coerce states into forcing them to register voters, which is exactly what the Biden administration is doing. And they say, oh, well, it's bipartisan. We're not taking any sides here. Do you really think the Biden administration is going to be bipartisan about getting voters registered to vote? I don't think so. These people think Donald Trump is evil incarnate. Do you think they are going to get Republicans to register to vote against them? You are out of your mind if you think they're going to be free and fair about registering voters. I'm sorry. You can say that it's bipartisan all you want, corporate press. You can say that they're doing this just in a blind fashion. No, I'm sorry. They're not going to do this in a blind fashion. Look at the HAVV. Yeah, Help America Vote verification. That's something to do with the Social Security Administration and registering people to vote. This very thing. We've seen, if you go look at the statistics, we've seen state after state, weeks where hundreds of thousands of voters were registered, and 30,000 here and 40,000 here and 20,000 over here didn't have a Social Security match. Their Social Security numbers didn't exist. They didn't have Social Securities, didn't have IDs. Like, why is there so many people registering to vote without IDs? Yeah, there's something fishy going on with that. They're registering criminal aliens, possibly. We don't know that, though. But we do know for a fact that millions of people have been registered to vote that have no Social Security number, that have no ID from any state. And that is all due to this executive order. A recent fundraising email sent by a GOP political action committee is an example of how they are framing the order, saying it compels federal agencies to act as Biden's personal get-out-the-vote machine. A Republican-led House committee recently issued subpoenas to agency directors, and a group of GOP secretaries of state asked the Supreme Court to take up a case challenging the order. White House spokesperson Robin Patterson said the administration will continue to protect the voting rights of eligible citizens regardless of political affiliation. Biden issued the order in 2021 as Republican legislatures across the country were debating a wave of state voting restrictions amid the false claims of widespread voter fraud had cost former President Donald Trump re-election. Now we know that the voter fraud narrative wasn't true. Technically wasn't true, right? But we do know that Republicans most certainly thought it was voter fraud because of how the Democrats cheated to win that election, like I talked about in the beginning of the video. That's what Republicans, their widespread claims of voter fraud was. They thought that was fraud because before they changed those rules and laws around elections, that was illegal. So that would be fraud. Once again, like I said with the baseball game, it just blows my mind that they're still trying to say, oh, well, Trump still claims he lost that election due to widespread voter fraud. Well, from their perspective, from our perspective, most certainly that was voter fraud because that is cheating. That is outright cheating. You can't deny that. I'm sorry. You can try to make an argument down in the comment section if you want to, but you can't deny that that is cheating. You can't go and change the rules and laws around elections and not notify the other side that these rules are changed. That is wrong. That is outright wrong. It's immoral, and these people should be criminally prosecuted, for goodness sakes, for not notifying the other side, not for changing the rules and laws, right? Some of them should be because, like in Pennsylvania, they changed the laws without the approval of the state legislature. Yeah, that's illegal. You can't do that. However, the Supreme Court didn't want to take that up because, they were about to go into their vacation, their break. They weren't in session anymore. And after the election, it was already, it's too late now. It's not going to change the outcome of the election. That is a cop-out, if you ask me, and it's BS. The order directed updates to the federal website vote.gov, including ensuring that voting information be made available in more than a dozen languages. Why? Why should voting information be available in more than a dozen languages? We have two primary languages in this country, English and Spanish. What point is it to have voter registration information in more than a dozen languages? Hang on. Joe Biden has been allowing up to 15 to 20 million criminal aliens from more than 177 different countries to flood our country. There is a correlation there. And I think you all know the ramifications of that. The site is not engaged in registering voters directly, but instead connects visitors with state and local election offices to begin the registration process. The order specifically mentions the Department of Defense and asks it to establish procedures to provide active duty military personnel the opportunity each year to register, update their voter registration information, or request an absentee ballot. Ain't nothing wrong with that. There is a lot wrong with the other stuff. It also directs the Department of Justice to provide educational materials about registration and voting to those in federal custody as they prepare to be released, along with information about rules that might prohibit them from voting. Why would you want to give these people? They know if you get a felony charge, if you're a felon, you can't vote. Now, I will admit that there is some constitutional questions around that. But as it stands, if you have felony convictions, you cannot vote. I'm sorry. That is the rules. That is the laws. You cannot. Why spend money to educate people to tell them they can't vote? There's something fishy going on here. Republicans question approach. A year after the order was issued, congressional Republicans sent a letter to the White House raising concerns that the administration had exceeded its authority and was directing federal agencies to engage in activities beyond their mission. Republicans said the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Food and Nutrition Service had informed state agencies that the costs of providing voter registration services were allowable administrative expenses under the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program and could be reimbursed at the 50% level. There's something funny going on with that. Why would you get the Department of Agriculture's Nutrition Service to intervene in voter registration? I wonder why. Maybe is it because a lot of criminal aliens come in and, as Nancy Pelosi said, pick the crops? Yeah, something fishy's going on with this. Once again, we've postulated, what is the shadow campaign this time? I wonder if this is it. Using the nation's multi-billion-dollar nutritional program to implement the Biden administration's voter registration scheme is not only a cause for concern, but one that necessitates further scrutiny, the Republicans wrote. What the letter didn't say, according to a former White House official who helped implement the order, is that states administer the food assistance program and that states were specifically directed to provide voter registration information under a federal law passed years ago. That sounds like a bunch of word salad to me. That also sounds like the federal government sticking its nose in where it doesn't belong. States are responsible for directing their own elections. For God's sakes, the federal government is not supposed to get involved. Justin Leavitt, who served as senior policy advisor at the White House, also said the agency was only reiterating previous guidance that those expenses were reimbursable. Really? Are you sure about that, buddy? Are you freaking serious? Oh, that's all we're doing? Yeah, sure. Tell me this, then. Why are there so many people registering to vote without an ID and without a social security number? Go look at the HAVV. Just check that out. It is mind-blowing. There have been, like I said, millions of people registered to vote without an ID, without a social security number. You can check this out. It goes on a weekly basis, and you can check every single state. Texas has had, at this point, almost 2 million, just alone in Texas, 2 million registered voters, and over 500,000 without an ID and without a social security number. Missouri has had like 1.5 million. And I think the number there was like 40,000 without an ID, without a social security number. And you can go state after state after state. These aren't Democrat states. Yeah, they're not targeting Democrat states. They're targeting red states. Red states have the biggest number. I wonder why that is. Insane, y'all. It's just insane to watch this unfold as it's going. And what are Republicans doing about this? I don't even think they know about the HAVV situation that's going on right now. Somebody needs to write Jim Jordan, who tell these people about this. As a matter of fact, I think I'm going to do that this afternoon. A few months later, Republicans sent letters to federal agencies requesting information about their plans to comply with the order. They also included repealing the executive order in a broad elections bill they introduced last year. Last month, the chairman of the Committee on House Administration sent letters requesting documents related to the order and sent a 2-week deadline to comply. The chairman, Wisconsin Republican Brian Steele, then issued subpoenas. He called the federal order another attempt by the Biden administration to tilt the scales ahead of the 2024 election. A White House official said the Office of Management and Budget had sent an initial response and other agencies were working on responding to the committee when it issued the subpoenas. The order requires state buy-in. While federal agencies have not published their proposals, they have announced steps they've taken to comply with the order. A group of Republicans who serve as their state's top election officials have also been critical of the order, calling it federal overreach into states' administrations of elections. West Virginia Secretary of State Mac Warner sent a letter in May 2022 asking Biden to rescind it and spoke against it when testifying before Congress last year. A few months ago, he issued a statement saying his state would refuse to accept any voter registration forms collected by federal agencies. We need to get every single red state to do this. Adding federal agencies to an already complex administrative process will make it even more challenging for election officials to ensure timely and accurate registration services before the election, he said in a statement in April. In May, Warner joined 8 other GOP secretaries of state to file a brief in the U.S. Supreme Court asking the justices to take a case challenging the order. The orders were from Arkansas, Indiana, Louisiana, Mississippi, Montana, New Hampshire, Tennessee, and Wyoming. Go New Hampshire. Republicans who oppose the executive order have labeled it Biden bucks, an apparent reference to the controversy that erupted after the 2020 election when Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg provided more than $350 million to a nonprofit that was later distributed to election offices. Republicans have claimed the Zuckerbucks effort was an attempt to benefit Democrats, and it most certainly was. The social media companies absolutely got involved with the 2020 election. That is something else we talk about all the time. They sent out reminders to Democrats to go vote and didn't do that to Republicans. Once again, the Democrats attempting to cheat. You can't do that. I'm sorry. That is so underhanded and so wrong, right? It might not be illegal. I don't know if it is or not. I don't know enough about U.S. state or federal law to know if that's illegal or not, but I can tell you it's morally wrong, it's very underhanded, and you could call that cheating. Once again, like I said with the baseball game, not informing the other side of the rule changes and then taking advantage because they don't know about those rule changes is cheating, folks. And we have got to open our eyes and see exactly what's going on. We see the shadow campaign for what it is, and we need to respond accordingly, folks. We need to get out there. Jim Jordan, if you watch this video, for God's sakes, do something. Steve Scalise, if you see this video, for God's sakes, do something. Mike Johnson, please, do something. But I think that's all I got for this one, y'all. I want y'all to let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comment section. Do you consider it cheating to change the rules and laws around elections and then not notify the other side of the rule changes? And then to have your Democrat activists go around to Democrat residences to force them to vote, to coerce them into voting by mail, right? And then change the rules around drop boxes and all this other BS. It blows my mind that the Democrats will still put out the narrative, oh, well, their claims of voter fraud are debunked. Yeah, I don't think so. I think you can genuinely call what the Democrats did fraud. Is it actual fraud? No, of course not. Is it legal? Of course it is. Is it underhanded? Yes. Is it very dirty? Yes. Is it cheating? Most certainly it is cheating. And it's like I've been stressing in this video, it's wrong. And I don't think they should do it. But let me know what you think. That's all I got for this one. I want to thank everybody for watching. And y'all try to have a good day and stay legitical. Peace.